You know what? I can't believe this. I was talking for like 15 minutes thinking that I was on record and I was on picture. So I looked down and I'm like, how did I take a picture while I'm doing this video? Well, because it wasn't a video, I was taking a picture, so I have to start all over. But maybe I can throw out some of the excess that I was saying and get more to the point. So about a month ago, I put up a video, which was my last video, saying that I was going to be talking about addictions and I was going to do a series on addictions. I don't know how many videos that will be because over this past month, as I've been thinking about the root of addictions, I realized there is actually a very simple common root to probably all addictions. And I want to talk about that today, kind of put it together in a smaller form. But as I've been thinking about it, we all go through periods of time where we naturally do have addictions. And one of those, really most of the time, this should be the main time, unless we're addicted to God, which is great. But as a child, we are addicted to our bottle, nursing from our mother, and maybe a blanket or a doll, and everyone accepts that as normal. So that is with, all in the proper framework of having an addiction. But some of us grow into our teenage years and our adult years and never get over the addictive mentality. A lot of us do, but some of us don't. And that actually can cause big problems in our adult life. So I myself have I grew up from, I had a bad upbringing. I mean, as far as having everything taken care of, like my clothes, I had clothes, nice clothes actually, and I had food and stuff like that. But I had absent parents and I had an alcoholic mother and, just not a lot of good stuff. I had an absent father. So with all that, I developed this major longing to have people in my life, to have a husband, boyfriend, all of that. And I can say that that actually became an addiction to the point that it really caused me some problems in my adult life. So, what I have found over the period of years that I have dealt with myself and healing from my past, I actually was a part of a 12-step program a couple of times and went through the whole program. And I actually went through it as a codependent person, even though the people in the class were people who had addictions like alcohol and drugs and stuff like that. I was in the classes because I wanted to get a hold of what I considered to be my addiction, was that I absolutely had to have someone in my life. And so that can be a really debilitating addiction. So especially when you attract people who are addicted to all kinds of stuff and they like you because you need somebody and you are not an addictive person, as far as drugs and stuff, so then they can kind of have the straight person and they can act out with their drugs and alcohol and whatever. So, that just makes for a bad relationship. So as I began to think about, okay, what's the root of addiction? I realized that when you go through a 12-step program, there's a lot of talk about forgiveness, unforgiveness, and anger. And as I thought about it, really anger is a root of addictions. The person's angry deep, deep inside. And so the question is, what is someone angry about? What's a common denominator of what someone is angry about? And I really think what it is now, and I think this is what has helped me anyway, to be like free. I'm actually happy and free and don't need to have someone in my life. I've got the Lord in my life. I'm happy. I don't have to have a husband, whatever. I mean, bless those who do, but it's not something that I'm longing for whatsoever. So what really helped me was I realized that the root of the anger is that a person wants to have their own way. Like the Bible says, whatever state you're in, therein be content. So, if someone didn't get the job, it's not time to go get drunk. You just didn't get the job. Does that make sense? If someone has a spouse that leaves them, it's not time to go and hit up on drugs because of this terrible thing that happened. The thing that has helped me the most is to give over to God what situation I find myself in. Now, there are different forms of addictions that people gravitate towards. So today I'm talking about what I call a sucking addiction. And a sucking addiction is anything that is where a person is sucking. So one are cigarettes, another is a bottle. People, drinking off of alcohol off a bottle. Smoking marijuana is a sucking addiction. Sucking a thumb is a sucking addiction. They're all coming from the same place. When we're little, sucking is great, and everybody wants us to suck on the breast or suck on the bottle because we need to eat and be strong. And when a baby's first born, they actually try to help that baby get on the mother's breast to start the sucking routine. And everybody cheers it on. But what happens is when a child gets to be 4 years old and they're still sucking their thumb, then people start looking and saying, well, we're going to have to get little Billy or little Betty off of her thumb before she gets buck teeth. That's because the period of time where sucking and an addiction of sucking is okay has passed. And now the child is entering into growing older with that same addiction, dragging it forward into life. Well, that child can continue to end up having the emotional problems that come with that addiction of wanting to be comforted, wanting to have their way, wanting to have the world revolve around them, into smoking cigarettes and smoking marijuana and stuff like that, or becoming an alcoholic. So, why did little Johnny and little Betty not stop sucking their thumb? Well, maybe because they just wanted to have their own way. And when mommy and daddy and auntie and uncle and cousins were trying to help them stop, maybe they just stubbornly wanted to have their own way. If we really think about addictions, that's really the root of it. What's the anger about? We can say, okay, the root of addictions is anger. The root of addictions is lack of relationship with good people in your life. But you know what? You have to be angry about something. And I know plenty of people who have addictions who do have good people in their lives who love them, but they're not receiving that love. So what is the anger rooted in? Well, think about it. What makes a little baby angry? They're sucking on the bottle and you take it away. What happens? The baby has a fit, right? And we expect that. How about when a child in kindergarten, they are all playing at the table and each one has their little magnet, their little animal magnet, and one child reaches over and takes the animal magnet from the other. What happens to the one who had it taken from him? He's angry, right? He's upset. And if that isn't fixed, we might hear some yelling and screaming and maybe throwing things. So if you think about it as we progress in life, when we get so rooted into what we want and how things should be, because that's how we want it to be and we think it should be, there is a lot of anger behind that. And that's when people start self-medicating, make themselves feel better, because really deep inside they're angry. And it's a little way of getting back at those who aren't doing exactly what they want them to do. Because you think about it, if you're married to someone who has an addiction and the other person doesn't, well, not a major one, and one does, they like to go get drunk, spend the week in South. Well, it is a way that person is actually getting back at the one who is not a drinker. It is a way of making that person's life miserable because you're drunk. Does that make sense? So when you really think about it, I'm sharing these different ways of looking at it because a paradigm shift, when in your mind you can think of something differently, can really help someone who sincerely wants to change. So this video is not for someone who wants to continue in the way they're going and laugh at my suggestions, because let me just say my suggestions do work. I don't have an addictive personality. I've managed to get over a lot of things that other people have told me they would have gone crazy if they'd gone through what I've gone through. And I have gone through a lot of things. And this is how I do it. I renew my mind. I renew my thinking on things. Because when we're thinking what they call stinking thinking, we are not actually helping ourselves. And if we can renew our minds, even if it makes us feel stupid in how we've had to renew our minds, we can actually overcome addictions. So this is very important for people who sincerely want to stop whatever is their problem. Oh, I could actually talk about, I don't know if I should just throw it all in here together, but I might do that in another video, because we are going to talk about some other forms of addiction. But today what we're talking about, what I call sucking addictions. So that's drinking, cigarettes, marijuana, and that kind of thing. That's what we're talking about. That would also include tobacco, the wad of tobacco up under the lip. that guys mostly do this. They think no one notices. They try to talk normally. They got the big bulge in the front of their lip, and they think, oh, nobody notices. Well, yeah, people do notice. Okay, so just don't think that people don't notice. People do notice, and it's another addiction. If you want to get rid of these, just listen to me. And if I make you annoyed or irritated, I'm sorry. I'm just too happy to care if people want to pick at me and say, well, that's ridiculous what you're saying. I can stop whenever I want. I don't know how many of you have heard that. I've heard that a zillion times. Oh, I can stop whenever I want. Yeah, that's right before the drunken car accident. That's right before you fell off the hill or someone found you face down in the ditch because you were drinking all night. So don't even tell me that stuff. Let's get real here, because I really want to help people. So if you can give over to God the very root of what you're angry about, sometimes that means you have to sit and think about it. You actually have to self-examine and say, what is it I'm really angry about deep inside? Because the first thing that comes up is not always it. Sometimes it's a little deeper than that. And when you can pinpoint what you are angry about not getting your way about, that really will help you to turn that over to God. And then when you turn that over to God, then when it comes up in those feelings and thoughts, I'm not getting my way, then you can say, oh, wait a minute, I gave that over to God. Because that thing is associated with the cigarettes. It's associated with the alcohol. I'm telling you, it's associated with the addiction. And so I hope that helps you. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments section. And I hope that, what I said today actually will help you be an overcomer. If you want some prayer, I'd be happy to pray for you. Just put it in the comments. And I appreciate you listening today. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord help you be an overcomer. And may the Lord help you to become a strong soldier in God's army. Because we can't be a soldier when we are addicted to stuff. Then we're weak and everyone has to carry us along. So let's not be babies anymore. Let's grow up and be mature soldiers and seasoned soldiers and fight the good fight of faith. God bless you, and I will talk with you later.